God and His power, the end-time event, the journey to heaven and the New Jerusalem, the kingdom of God, cannot be explained fully by any living human being. No man can ever judge God's kingdom, as it is inaccessible by human thoughts or literal understanding. It is beyond imagination, beyond science, beyond everything humanity has ever tried to define. It exists outside the limits of time, space, and human reasoning. The kingdom of God has the most advanced technology, power, military, medicine, knowledge, wisdom, information system, intelligence, and protection beyond anything known to mankind. What humans call advancement today is only a tiny reflection of what already exists in heaven. Even the greatest human inventions are only fragments of a much greater intelligence that originates from God. The only supreme power in heaven is God, who sits on the throne. His authority is absolute. His presence fills everything. His angels are infinite, as the sand of the desert, each operating with purpose, precision, and perfect obedience. Imagine a system where nothing fails, a kingdom where no corruption exists, a reality where everything works in complete harmony. That is the kingdom of God. There is no sickness, no disease, no death. Everything is built to last forever. The replica of heaven, clear manifestation on earth. The high technology seen on earth is nothing compared to the wisdom of God. It is said that human advancement is 1,000,000 times lower than what exists in heaven. Humans cannot outsmart God, no matter how advanced they believe themselves to be. Earth is not the only occupied place in existence. There are realities beyond this world that humans are not aware of. There are systems, structures, and creations far greater than Earth, but hidden from human knowledge for a reason. God protects humanity from accessing certain knowledge and power. This is not limitation, it is protection, because there was a time in the past when knowledge was misused. Lucifer, once close to God, gained insight into divine wisdom. He understood things that others did not, but instead of remaining loyal, he allowed pride to grow. He used knowledge as a weapon. He turned truth into deception. He began to question authority. He influenced other beings. He created division. What started as a thought became rebellion, and that rebellion turned into a war that changed everything. Lucifer used intelligence to recruit angelic beings to support his intentions. He built a movement against God, but no rebellion can stand against the Creator. He was cast out, and from that moment, the universe was no longer untouched by conflict. As we understand the massive power that rules the kingdom of heaven, we begin to realize something important. God should be the foundation of every human life, not as an option, not as a belief system, but as the core of existence. God should be the only authority in human life. God should be the center, the focus, the foundation. Everything that exists on earth is temporary. Everything we see, everything we build, everything we depend on, it will all pass away. The advancement we enjoy today is only the tip of the iceberg. It is evidence that something greater exists. It is a reminder that this world is not the final destination. The dwelling place of God is far greater than earth. The kingdom of God operates like a perfect government, not corrupted, not broken, but fully functional and perfectly managed. Millions of systems, galaxies, and creations are controlled and maintained with precision. Everything operates according to a divine plan. Nothing's random. Nothing is out of order. Humans try to understand control systems, governments, and leadership, but the system of God is beyond comparison. It manages everything in perfect harmony. Try to believe the power in the kingdom of God. Everything we see on earth was inspired. Vehicles were inspired by movement in nature. Systems were inspired by patterns already created. Human innovation is not creation, it is discovery. All earthly systems exist because they are needed. In heaven, they are not. Medicine is needed on earth because the human body is not perfect. In heaven, there is no sickness, so medicine does not exist. Everything is designed to last forever. God allows knowledge to continue on earth. Scientists, doctors, and researchers receive ideas that help humanity survive longer, not just for comfort, but for time. Time to understand, time to choose, time to realize that God is real. Prayer for health, for protection, for provision. These things matter, but they become powerful when aligned with purpose, when aligned with truth. The Sabbath, the seal of God. In heaven, God is worshipped continuously. Every system, every being, every action is aligned with Him. On earth, humans are given 6 days to work, to build, to live. But one day is set apart, the Sabbath, a day dedicated to God, a sign, a mark of identity, a distinction between those who follow God and those who do not. It is not just a day of rest. It is a symbol of loyalty, a recognition of who God is. God will return for those who are prepared, those who remain faithful, those who are aligned with Him. The end time begins. Jesus warned that the last days would be filled with deception. Many would claim truth, but lead people away from it. The world would experience unrest. Wars would increase. Fear would spread, but life would continue. People would still live normally. This is what makes the final moment so dangerous. Because the end does not begin with chaos. It begins with silence. A moment when everything feels normal. A moment when nothing seems wrong. But in heaven, everything has changed. The final decisions have been made. Every soul has chosen. And then the shift begins. The spirit withdraws. Conviction fades. The world feels peace. But it is not peace. It is the absence of mercy. The final events unfold before destruction comes. There is a final warning. The message goes out across the world. A call to choose. A call to return. A call to truth. Some listen. Many ignore. The world continues as usual until suddenly everything changes. The restraint is removed. The systems collapse. The first plague begins. It starts quietly. A strange pain, a burning sensation. Sores appear on the human body, unexplainable, untreatable. They spread. Hospitals fill. Doctors fail. Fear spreads. But this is only the beginning. The second plague follows. The oceans change. Life in the sea dies. The third plague, rivers turn. Water becomes unusable. The fourth plague, the sun burns. Heat becomes unbearable. The fifth plague, darkness falls. Heavy, confusing, terrifying. The sixth plague, nations prepare for war. The final conflict approaches. And then the seventh plague. A voice speaks. It is done. The earth shakes. The sky breaks. Everything collapses. And then a cloud appears. Small at first, but growing. Brighter, stronger. The return of Jesus. The faithful rise. Transformed. Free from pain. Free from fear. They enter the cloud. They begin the journey to heaven. They move beyond earth, beyond the sky, beyond everything they have ever known. They travel together, in peace, in unity, in joy. They see things beyond description, light, structures, worlds, everything perfect, everything alive, and then they see it. The New Jerusalem, a city of light, a city of perfection, a city prepared. They arrive, they are welcomed, they are given crowns, they are given purpose, they stand on the sea of glass, they worship, they understand, everything makes sense. The final judgment, time passes, truth is revealed, every decision is understood, nothing is hidden, everything is clear. The final end of sin, the city descends, the earth is restored, the lost are raised, they see, they understand, but they do not change, a final rebellion, a final attempt, and then, fire, everything ends. Sin is destroyed. Forever. The new earth, a new beginning, a new world, no death, no pain, no fear. God lives among his people. Life continues forever. Peace without end. Everything restored. Everything perfect. And now, everything comes down to one question. Are you ready? The final events unfold. Cinematic expansion. As the world continues in what appears to be normalcy, something unseen begins to shift. There is no global announcement, no warning that people can recognize, no signal that appears on screens. Life continues, but beneath the surface, everything has already changed. The moment mercy closes is not loud, it is silent. People wake up the next day just like any other. They go to work, they scroll their phones, they make plans, they laugh, they argue, they dream. But something is missing, conviction is gone. The voice that once whispered, that once corrected, that once warned, it is no longer there. Sin no longer feels wrong. The world feels strangely peaceful. But it is not peace, it is the absence of mercy. And then, slowly, the first sign begins. A man notices a burning sensation on his skin. At first, it feels minor. He ignores it. But within hours, the pain grows sharper. The skin begins to swell. Sores begin to form. In another city, a woman experiences the same thing. Then another, and another. Within a day, hospitals begin to fill. Doctors examine patients, confused. Tests return nothing. No known infection, no pattern, no explanation. The sores worsen. They do not heal. They do not respond to treatment. Pain becomes constant, relentless. The first plague spreads across nations. The rich cannot escape it. The powerful cannot control it. The world begins to panic. Emergency systems activate. Governments release statements, but there are no answers, only fear. And before the world can recover, the second plague begins, the oceans. At first, fishermen notice something strange. The water looks different, thicker, darker. Then fish begin to float to the surface, dead. Not just a few, thousands, millions. Entire coastlines become filled with lifeless bodies. The water changes completely. The oceans become silent. No movement, no life. The smell spreads across continents. Trade collapses. Food supply chains fail. Panic deepens. And then the third plague follows. Rivers, lakes, streams. The sources of fresh water begin to change. Clear water becomes dark, undrinkable. Cities lose their supply. People search desperately. Bottled water disappears instantly. Violence begins to rise. Survival becomes the only focus. Humanity begins to realize this is not something that can be fixed. Then the fourth plague, the sun. The same sun that once gave life now becomes unbearable. Heat intensifies beyond anything recorded in history. The air itself feels heavy. Breathing becomes difficult. Crops burn in the fields. Food systems collapse completely. People hide, but there is no escape. The heat reaches everywhere, and still many refuse to change. Instead of turning back, anger grows stronger. Then the fifth plague. Darkness, not ordinary darkness, a thick, suffocating darkness. It spreads across entire regions. People cannot see, technology fails, power grids collapse, communication ends. People are left alone, in pain, in confusion, in fear. The darkness feels alive, heavy, oppressive, and the world begins to break mentally. Then the sixth plague, the final stage before the end. The great river dries up, barriers disappear, paths open for nations, leaders begin to move, armies prepare, a global gathering begins, not fully understood by humanity, but driven by forces beyond them. Deception reaches its peak. The world is pulled toward one final confrontation. And then, the seventh plague. A voice echoes across existence. It is done. Immediately, the earth responds. A violent shaking. Not like anything before, buildings collapse instantly. Cities fall apart. Mountains shift. The ground itself becomes unstable. Lightning tears through the sky. Thunder shakes the atmosphere. Massive hailstones fall, each one destructive beyond measure. Everything breaks, everything falls, everything ends. And then, in the middle of chaos, a cloud appears, small, distant, but growing, brighter, stronger, more powerful. The light begins to push back the darkness, the atmosphere changes, people stop, they look up, and in that moment everything becomes clear. This is not natural, this is the return. Jesus appears in glory, in power, surrounded by light, surrounded by countless beings. The entire sky is filled. There is no denial, no confusion, only realization. For some it is terror, for others it is hope, and for the faithful it is everything. Their bodies change instantly. Pain disappears, fear disappears, every limitation is gone. They rise, drawn upward, they enter the cloud, and the journey begins. The journey to heaven. They leave the earth behind. The destruction fades, the chaos disappears. They move upward through the sky, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the stars. Time begins to feel different. There is no fear, no uncertainty, only peace, only joy, only presence. They travel together, not alone, never alone. Light surrounds them, a light that does not blind, but comforts. They see things that no human has ever seen, structures beyond imagination. Worlds filled with life, systems operating in perfect order. Everything reflects intelligence, everything reflects purpose. They continue, not for seconds, but for a journey, a real movement from one existence to another. And then they see it, the city, the New Jerusalem, massive, radiant, alive. The light coming from it is beyond anything they have ever known. The closer they get, the more details appear. Walls, gates, structure, design, everything perfect, everything intentional. They approach slowly, taking in every moment, every detail. They enter and they are welcomed. Not as strangers, but as citizens. They are given crowns, symbols of victory, symbols of completion. They are given identity, purpose, belonging. They stand together on what appears like a sea of glass, clear, perfect, radiant. They look around, and everything makes sense. Every struggle, every pain, every moment, it all led here. They worship, not out of obligation, but out of understanding, out of love. The final judgment and the end of sin time passes, not as humans understand it, but as a period of revelation. Every life is opened, every decision is seen, every hidden truth is revealed. Nothing remains unknown. Justice is fully understood, and then the final phase begins. The holy city descends back toward earth. The earth, once destroyed, now prepared. Those who rejected truth are raised again. They see the city, they see what they lost, they understand, but their hearts remain unchanged. Satan gathers them one last time, one final deception, one final rebellion. They surround the city, a final attempt, but it does not last. Fire comes down from heaven, final, absolute, complete. Sin is destroyed forever. The new earth, eternal beginning, and then something new begins, a new heaven, a new earth. Everything is restored. The ground is alive. Nature is perfect. There is no decay, no death, no pain, no fear. God lives among his people, not distant, not hidden, but present. Life continues. People build, create, explore, learn without limitation, without fear, without end. Peace is no longer temporary. It is eternal. Joy is no longer fragile. It is constant. Everything is restored to its original purpose. This is the kingdom of God, eternal, perfect, unshakable, and now everything comes down to one final truth. Every human being is moving toward that moment, a moment when everything feels normal, a moment when there is no warning, a moment when decisions can no longer be changed, and when that moment comes, there will be no turning back. So the question remains, are you ready? Everything we see on earth was inspired. Vehicles were inspired by movement in nature. Systems were inspired by patterns already created. Human innovation is not creation, it is discovery. All earthly systems exist because they are needed. In heaven, they are not. Medicine is needed on earth because the human body is not perfect. In heaven, there is no sickness, so medicine does not exist. Everything is designed to last forever. God allows knowledge to continue on earth. Scientists, doctors, and researchers receive ideas that help humanity survive longer. Not just for comfort, but for time. A voice speaks, it is done. The earth shakes, the sky breaks, everything collapses, and then a cloud appears, small at first, but growing, brighter, stronger. The return of Jesus, the faithful rise, transformed, free from pain, free from fear. They enter the cloud, they begin the journey to heaven. They move beyond earth, beyond the sky, beyond everything they have ever known. They travel together, in peace, in unity, in joy. They see things beyond description, light, structures, worlds, everything perfect, everything alive. And then they see it, the New Jerusalem, a city of light, a city of perfection, a city prepared. They arrive, a new beginning, a new world, no death, no pain, no fear. God lives among his people. Life continues forever. Peace without end, everything restored, everything perfect. And now, everything comes down to one question. Are you ready